Open up your MTT. Today's date, we're going to be talking about factoring and solving equations using the factor T method. Okay, basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking an answer and we're going to go back and figure out what the multiplication problem was that created this particular trinomial. So what we're going to do first is we're going to set up our factor T chart. So this 24 is going to slide in, and this 14 is going to go into the second column. Now we're looking for two numbers that when we multiply them together, we get 24, and when we add them together, we get 14. So we can start with 2 and 12. 2 times 12 is 24, and 2 plus 12 is 14. So we're going to set up our parentheses. The only way that we can get an x squared is to multiply x times x. So we know that our x is the first part of each parentheses. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take each of our factors and put them into a parentheses. So the 2 is positive, so it's going to be plus 2, and the 12 is positive, so it's going to be plus 12. If we are asked to factor, we stop here. If we are asked to solve, we take these two and set them equal to 0. So x plus 2 is equal to 0. X plus 12 is equal to 0. Solve for x. We're going to 0 pair. So x is equal to negative 2. 0 pair. X is equal to negative 12. So our solution for this trinomial would be negative 12 and negative 2. All right, let's factor our next trinomial. So we're going to set up our factor T. The negative 30 is going to slide over. The negative 7 is going to go into the second column. So now I'm looking for two numbers that when I multiply them together, I get negative 30, and when I add them together, I get negative 7. Now I'm going to try negative 6 times 5. So negative 6 times 5 does equal negative 30. However, when I add negative 6 plus 5, I do not get negative 7, so that one won't work. So I'm going to go ahead and try 3 and negative 10. So 3 and negative 10, when I multiply them together, I get negative 30. And if I take 3 plus negative 10, I get the negative 7. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my two sets of parentheses. Again, the only way that I can get x squared is to multiply x times x. We know that when we box. And now I'm going to take my two factors. So I have a positive 3 and I have a negative 10. Now, if I'm asked to factor, I stop here. If I'm asked to solve, then I need to do x plus 3 equals 0 and x minus 10 equals 0. Using the 0 pair, I get x equals negative 3, and add the 10, and x equals 10. So if I'm asked to solve, and the solution set would be negative 3, 10. All right, again, factor T chart. We're going to slide the negative 21, and we're going to put our positive 4 in the second column. So now we're looking for factors of 21. Well, I have negative 7, and I have positive 3. If I multiply those together, I get negative 21. If I add negative 7 plus positive 3, I get negative 4. So that doesn't work. So let's switch the signs around. Negative 3 times 7 gives me negative 21, and negative 3 plus 7 gives me positive 4. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my parentheses, put my x in, and I'm going to make it negative 3 and positive 7. If they ask me to factor it, then I'm done, and this is my answer. That is that trinomial in factored form. If they ask me to solve, I'm going to take x minus 3 is equal to 0 and x plus 7 is equal to 0. do my zero pairing. So x is equal to 3, -7, -7. So x is equal to -7. So our solution set would be -7, 3. All right, last one, factor t chart. We're going to go ahead and slide our 50 in, take our -15, and we're looking for factors of 50. So I could do 2 and 25. When I multiply those together, I get 50. But when I add 2 plus 25, I do not get -15. So let's do -10, -5. When I multiply those two together, I get +50. And when I add -10 and -5, I get -15. So I'm going to set up my parentheses. I'm going to put my x in, because x times x will give me my x squared. And then it's going to be -10 and -5. Now, if they ask me to factor, I'm done. If they ask me to solve, then I need to do x -10, x -5, set them both equal to 0, and solve for x. So 0 pair out, so I have x is equal to 10, 0 pair out, and x is equal to 5. So my solution sets would be 5 and 10. And now you know how to factor and how to solve using the factor T method.